Hey guys, it's Miss Miners here for day 29. It's our second to last day of these read alouds. So far this week we have read some pretty neat biographies, and today we will again continue reading biographies. And I want you to think about what you've learned about biographies so far. So Monday we read about Zora Hurston and the Chinaberry Tree. Tuesday, we read about Celia Cruz, who was the queen of salsa. Yesterday, we read about the manfish, Jacques Cousteau. And today, we are actually going to read about a man named Wilson Bentley. And our story today is called Snowflake Bentley. Again, it comes from our Fountas Pinnell text sets for Interactive Read Alouds. So all copyright information and credit goes to them, Fountas and Pinnell. So today's story, like I said, is called Snowflake Bentley. It is written by Jacqueline Briggs Martin and illustrated by Mary Azarian. And if you see, it has a medal. So this was a Caldecott winner, a Caldecott medal winner. Okay, and before I start and before I really tell you anything about Wilson Bentley, I want you to think, like I said, about what a biography is and what you know about a biography so far from our other books this week. And then I want you to look at the cover. Okay, here's our front cover. Look at our back cover. Okay, and the title, Snowflake Bentley. Now, I told you that his real name was Wilson Bentley, or is Wilson Bentley, okay? And I want you to think for a second, using what you know about biographies, using the illustration on the covers, and using the title, what do you think Wilson Bentley might be famous for? It's pretty interesting. I had actually never heard of Wilson Bentley before, but I'm going to give you a couple seconds just to think about it. Look at the cover, the title. Okay, it's a biography, like I said. Okay, give you a couple minutes, couple seconds. All right, so Wilson Bentley was a man who grew up in Vermont, and Vermont in the winters gets a lot of snow. And Wilson Bentley loved snow. He loved everything about snow. He loved watching it. He loved playing in it. He loved looking at it. He just loved everything about it. And so he actually grew up to become a photographer who studied snow and snowflakes. And he used a microscope and also a camera that he later bought to take pictures of the structure and beauty of snowflakes. So one thing you're going to learn, if you don't already know, but in this story you're going to learn about snowflakes, is that there are no two snowflakes that are exactly alike. So a lot of times we don't get to see how pretty snowflakes are because when they land on us or when they land on the ground, they melt, right? So he came up with a way, which we will read about in just a second, to kind of take a picture of snowflakes before they melt so that you can see exactly what they look like before they turn into water. And like I said, there are no two snowflakes, and no matter where you are or no matter what snowstorm, there are no snowflakes that are exactly alike. Every single snowflake is unique in its own way. And that means that every single snowflake is different in some way. And so he really wanted to find a way to show everyone and to kind of prove that snowflakes are beautiful in their own way and that all snowflakes are different. So in this story, we're going to learn about the life of Wilson Bentley, like I said, who was from Vermont and who loved snow and who wanted other people to love snow and to really see the true beauty of snow. Also, we have an interesting text feature that we've learned about, but we haven't talked about it in a while, but it's called a sidebar. And it's information off to the side, okay? And in this particular story, it's going to give us facts about Wilson Bentley. So I wanted to kind of tell you guys that now so that as you're going back and answering the questions, you can look back at the sidebars on the different pages to get those real facts about Wilson Bentley. Okay, so today's story, Snowflake Bentley. In the days when farmers worked with ox and sled and cut the dark with lantern light, there lived a boy who loved snow more than anything else in the world. Willie Bentley's happiest days were snowstorm days. He watched snowflakes fall on his mittens, on the dried grass of Vermont farm fields, on the dark metal handle of the barn door. He said snow was as beautiful as butterflies or as apple blossoms. Okay, now I'm going to read the sidebar on this page, and this will be helpful for your question on this page, so really listen. Wilson Bentley was born February 9th, 1865, on a farm in Jericho, Vermont, between Lake Champlain and Mount Mansfield, in the heart of the snow belt, where the annual snowfall is about 120 inches. So that means where he was born, about on average for the year, it snows about 120 inches. Okay, so think about a ruler. Think about the size of a ruler is 12 inches. And the amount of snow that they get there is 120 inches. Okay, so our question on this page says, what do you know so far about William Bentley? He could net butterflies and show them to his older brother, Charlie. He could pick apple blossoms and take them to his mother. But he could not share snowflakes because he could not save them. Okay, so some more facts about him. Willie's mother was his teacher until he was 14 years old. He attended school for only a few years. She had a set of encyclopedias, Willie said, and I read them all. When his mother gave him an old microscope, he used it to look at flowers, raindrops, and blades of grass. Best of all, he used it to look at snow. While other children built forts and pelted snowballs at roosting crows, Willie was catching single snowflakes. Day after stormy day, he studied the icy crystals. Okay, here's another fact from our sidebar. From his boyhood on, he studied all forms of moisture. He kept a record of the weather and did many experiments with raindrops. So it says that he kept a record of the weather and he did lots of experiments with raindrops, but I wonder why he didn't do any experiments with snowflakes. Think about that for a minute. How can he do an experiment with a raindrop, but not with a snowflake? Their intricate patterns were even more beautiful than he had ever imagined. He expected to find whole flakes that were the same, that were copies of each other, but he never did. Willie decided he must find a way to save snowflakes so others could see their wonderful designs. For 3 winters, he tried drawing snow crystals. They always melted before he could finish. Okay, so here's a few facts on our sidebars. He learned that most crystals had 6 branches, though a few of them have 3. For each snowflake, the 6 branches were alike. I found that snowflakes were masterpieces of design, he said. No one design was ever repeated. When a snowflake melted, just that much beauty was gone without leaving any record behind. We have another sidebar on this page. Starting at age 15, he drew 100 snow crystals each winter for 3 winters. Okay, so it says Willie wanted to find a way to save snowflakes. Why do you think this was important to Willie? Why was it so important that he find a way to save snowflakes? That's your question on that page. When he was 16, Willie read of a camera with its own microscope. If I had that camera, I could photograph snowflakes, he told his mother. Willie's mother knew he would not be happy until he could share what he had seen with the world. Fussing with snow is just foolishness, his father said. Still, he loved his son, And when Willie was 17, his parents spent their entire savings and bought the camera for him. It was taller than a newborn calf and cost as much as his father's herd of 10 cows. Willie was sure it was the best of all cameras. Okay, here's some facts about the camera. The camera made images on large glass negatives. Its microscope could magnify a tiny crystal from 64 to 3,600 times its actual size. So if you think about a microscope takes something very, very small and it lets you look at it even smaller. So it lets you look at all the little pieces. So if his camera, when he takes a picture, has a microscope in it, that means that he can take his pictures and whatever he takes a picture of and really zoom in, really magnify it so that he can see all the different parts. So it says Willie's camera could magnify snowflakes. What does it mean to magnify something? And I kind of already gave you the answer on this page. And how will magnifying the snowflakes help Willie? If you were listening, I answered both of those. So what does it mean to magnify something? Think about a magnifying glass. And why would he want to magnify snowflakes? Even so, his first pictures were failures, no better than shadows. Yet he would not quit. Mistake by mistake, snowflake by snowflake, Willie worked through every storm. Winter ended, the snow melted, and he had no good pictures. He waited for another season of snow. One day, in the second winter, he tried a new experiment. And it worked! Willie had figured out how to photograph snowflakes. Now everyone can see the great beauty in a tiny crystal, he said. All right, here's some facts. Willie's experiment. He used a very small lens opening, which let only a little light reach the negative, but he kept the lens open for several seconds, up to a minute and a half. He learned, too, that he could make the snow crystals show up more clearly by using a sharp knife to cut away all the dark parts of the negative around the crystals. This etching meant extra hours of work for each photograph, but Willie didn't mind. So if you look in the background, that's his experiment that worked. But in those days, no one cared. Neighbors laughed at the idea of photographing snow. Snow in Vermont is as common as dirt, they said. We don't need pictures. Willie said the photographs would be his gift to the world. While other farmers sat by the fire or rode to town with horse and sleigh, Willie studied snowstorms. He stood at the shed door and held out a black tray to catch the flakes. When he found only jumbled, broken crystals, he brushed the tray clean with a turkey feather and held it out again. He waited hours for just the right crystal and didn't notice the cold. If the shed were warm, the snow would melt. If he breathed on the black tray, the snow would melt. If he twitched a muscle as he held the snow crystal on the long wooden pick, the snowflake would break. He had to work fast or the snowflake would evaporate before he could slide it into place and take its picture. Some winters he was able to make only a few dozen good pictures, but some winters he made hundreds. All right, here's our facts in our sidebar. He learned that each snowflake begins as a speck, so a little tiny speck is how they start, much too tiny to be seen. Little bits, molecules of water attach to the speck to form its branches. So like it's like arms and legs of the snowflake. As the crystal grows, the branches come together and trap small quantities of air. Many things affect the way these crystal branches grow. A little more cold, a bit less wind, or a bit more moisture will mean different shaped branches. Willie said that was why, in all his pictures, he never found two snowflakes that were alike, which I told you guys at the beginning. The best snowstorm of his life occurred on Valentine's Day in 1928. He made over 100 photographs during the 2-day storm. He called the storm a gift from King Winter. Okay, so what are some new things that you learned about snowflakes? I'm going to hold this back up to the sidebar of information. Let me see if I can get it up there close. I'll hold it up there for a minute. See if you guys can see or remember some new things that you might have learned about snowflakes. Think about maybe the size of them. Think about maybe the shape of them. Think about how they start, what they start out as, how they grow, and how they become a snowflake. So just write down a few things that you learned that are new about snowflakes that you didn't already know. Willie so loved the beauty of nature, he took pictures in all seasons. In the summer, his nieces and nephews rubbed coat hangers with sticky pitch from spruce trees. Then Willie could use them to pick up spider webs jeweled with water drops and take their pictures. On fall nights, he would gently tie a grasshopper to a flower so he could find it in the morning and photograph the dew-covered insect. Okay, here's our fact on this page. Willie's nieces and nephews lived on one side of the farmhouse that Willie shared with his brother Charlie. Willie often played the piano as they sang and shared stories and games with them. But his snow crystal pictures were always his favorites. He gave copies away or sold them for a few cents. He made special pictures as gifts for birthdays. He held evening slideshows on the lawns of his friends. Children and adults sat on the grass and watched while Willie projected his slides onto a sheet hung over a clothesline. Here's our fact on this page. Many colleges and universities bought lantern slide copies of Willie's photographs and added to their collections each year. Artists and designers used the photographs to inspire their own work. He wrote about snow and published his pictures in magazines. He gave speeches about snow to faraway scholars and neighborhood skywatchers. "You are doing a great work," said a professor from Wisconsin. The little farmer came to be known as the world's expert on snow, the Snowflake Man. But he never grew rich. He spent every penny he made on his pictures. Willie said there were treasures in snow. "I can't afford to miss a single snowstorm," he told a friend. "I never know when I will find some wonderful prize." Other scientists raised money so Willie could gather his best photographs in a book. When he was 66 years old, Willie's book, His Gift to the World, was published. Still, he was not ready to quit. So here's our fact. Even today, those who want to learn about snow crystals begin with Wilson Bentley's book, Snow Crystals. So after watching this, if you guys want to actually look up his book, it's called Snow Crystals. So you can look it up and you can see what he shows in his first book. And then it says by 1926, he had spent $15,000 on his work and received $4,000 from the sale of photographs and slides. So he spent $15,000 and he only made $4,000. So he spent a lot more money, he gave a lot more money than he got back. Okay, so on this page it says, so the writer tells you that Wilson Bentley did not make a lot of money from his snowflake photographs. And most people want to make money for what they do, right? I'm a teacher, so I would make money for what I do. That's my job. So most people would want to make money for things that they do, for their job. So it seems like he didn't really care about the money, though. So what does that tell us about him as a person? He kept doing it even though he didn't make that much money. So what can we tell about him as a person? What do you think? Less than a month after turning the first page on his book, Willie walked 6 miles home in a blizzard to make more pictures. He became ill with pneumonia after that walk, and he died 2 weeks later. A monument was built for Willie in the center of town. The girls and boys who had been his neighbors grew up and told their sons and daughters the story of the man who loved snow. 40 years after Wilson Bentley's death, children in his village worked to set up a museum in honor of the farmer scientist. And his book has taken the delicate snow crystals that once blew across Vermont, past mountains, over the earth. Neighbors and strangers have come to know of the icy wonders that land on their own mittens, thanks to Snowflake Bentley. Here's our last fact on this page. The plaque on the monument says, Snowflake Bentley, Jericho's world-famous snowflake authority. For 50 years, Wilson A. Bentley, a simple farmer, developed his technique of microphotography to reveal to the world the grandeur and mystery of the snowflake, its universal hexagonal shape, and its infinite number of lovely designs. Okay, so the town put up this monument. This is our last question. The town put up this monument to honor Snowflake Bentley after he passed away. What do you think about the monument and what it says? So over here is what the monument says. So I'll hold that up for a second. Okay, that's what the monument says. So what do you think about that? How do you feel about that monument? And why do you think it says what it does? And that's the end of our story, but I actually am going to show you guys, there's a real picture of him on the back cover. Let's see if I can get that up there close. So that is the actual Wilson Bentley. And that is him with the camera that he used to take pictures of the snowflakes. So pretty cool. Okay, so again, this was another biography. So a writer tells us the story of a real person's life. And I think this one's a great one to kind of teach us another lesson. And the lesson is that no matter what, even if you don't make a lot of money doing something, if you believe it and you want that to be your dream and you really enjoy doing it, then do it. Just like Willie Bentley, he didn't make a lot of money for his snowflake pictures, but he loved snow and snowflakes so much that he kept doing it. And he became famous for it. So he showed that he was determined. He didn't make a lot of money, but that is what he wanted to do. That was his dream. He loved the snow. He enjoyed doing it, and he was happy doing it. So he said, you know what? I don't need all that money. I want to do something that I enjoy doing and that I love to do. So that's what he did. So some of you guys, even if you want to do things that you know might not make a lot of money, if that's your dream and you know that you love doing it, never give up and always just keep trying to do your best. and to just stay determined and to just work for your goals no matter what. If you enjoy doing it, then you do it. That's my lesson for today, and I will see you guys tomorrow for our last read aloud of the week.